this catalog was such a bottomless well, and it really changed my life. And the efforts of two brothers also played a big factor. And these were the two guys that came up with something remarkable, the experimentation of fluorescent pigments and their byproduct, which would be day-glow tempera. So I was really excited. This rocked my little world in Iowa. And I very, very proudly grabbed one of my projects and trotted it into my art teacher. And I was so excited about it. And she took a look at it, it really looking as though she was having a bad psychedelic experience, I fear. But she took a look at it and she chided me saying, the best artworks that humanity have ever created have already been made. And the best we can do is copy those masterpieces. And I sometimes think in the digital age that she might have had a point. Because how many times do you come up with a great idea and then go to Google and see many variants of it merrily sitting there in the results page? But I'd like to just suggest that that in some ways is a good idea, is a good part of our practice. Oh, and by the way, had there been Google in 1968, I would have happily let her know that the man that founded the paint factory that made the Day-Glow paint was an art teacher. So here we are, one vast Edmunds catalog, one tool. I don't know if there's 500. The numbers that you see are all over the map, but a lot of us are using one tool, and the ways that we've come up with it are just astounding. The great collective of human effort is no longer simply building on the past. We're building in real time. We have tools to build the future in the present. Now, I would urge you to use these tools. By the way, I have a little hashtag. I want you guys to answer some of the things that you really think I missed today. And I've got a bunch of tools to suggest. At the Grace Foundation, where I work, doing sustainability advocacy, I was tasked to do a blog on an interesting man named Mud Barron. Now, Mud is a total 21st century kind of guy. He talks in tweets. And so in interviewing him, I didn't invent the wheel, but his passion to try to get gardens into the most desperate urban food desert areas is such a piece of his life that I decided I would simply do a tweet review. And it reads well, but more importantly, it underscores that this fellow really believes that Twitter is as important to his practice as honeybees or composting, in bringing these gardens and realizing these things to kids, these programs to kids who really badly need them. I think it's really about improv. And, you know, we are natural improvisers. From the jazz musician whose instrument becomes a bionic extension of his will, to the kids with the Krylon can. The minute that we wake up, we are making hundreds of choices by the time we reach for the toothbrush. And hopefully we look in the mirror once in a while and remind ourselves that we're there so that we're not on autopilot. You're here, of course, because you are so motivated and because you've got such a sense of the promise that many of these programs have to offer. And you know that I'm missing some at this landscape, some that are very important to your practice, and I hope you're sharing them with us all right now as I talk. There's so much that the kids need to do, but there's also 1 million Edmund catalogs available to people right now. And so kids, and as we can, go in all directions to find and to use these tools. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that while you are very committed to inspiring your kids, and certainly we've heard much inspiring stuff today, I would urge you to make sure that you make part of your methodology time to inspire yourself. Time to go inside, to look deeper, to nose around and be curious, There are tremendous aggregated resources. We've spoken to many of them today. The social spaces from corporations, from education organizations, from bloggers, do-gooders fresh from Kickstarter, they're all ready to flip the classroom. the masterful curation of organizations. Harlan's wonderful, I think wonderful, and several teacher friends think it's a wonderful tool of introducing the Supreme Court decision-making process. Similarly, if you haven't taken a look or don't regularly take a look, Harvard School of Education's aggregation of free tools, it's stunning. Also, businesses are getting on board with education in ways that are reflective of the change. B Corporation, for example, a quick search, just a nosing around, finds that many of the organizations are umbrellas and are truly curating work that's really of value. So inside B Corporation, you find organizations like the work that's being done by School Data. Now, they've got a Common Core Standards Finder. That's for you guys to tell the world if it's a value or not, but it's new and it's one of many. My point is, you're the curator. You get to be the person that moves things forward. I urge you to share your inspiration. I'm just curious, who knows Alltop here? Some folks do. A lot of people in editorial that I interface with think it's a very valuable tool. It is sort of a what's happening, but it's not a pop culture what's happening. It's culling from hundreds of many thousands of publications, large, small, corporate, independent. I think it's really worth looking into. Curriculum could really benefit from taking, your curriculum could benefit from taking a look at that. You know, and then there's what inspires you. I'm a creative. Z. Frank gets me excited, his innovations and wittiness, but the point is, whoever it is that excites you, make sure that you find your way to them. Share this inspiration that you have. Now, certainly, we don't know how texting before our morning pee is going to change us and is rewiring our brains. There's plenty written about that. But I think the bigger risk is if we stay on autopilot and we don't let these tools challenge us, scare us a little bit, and make us excited. Now, you know, I don't need to tell any of you guys how these are used, but are you aware of some of the new things that are being used for them? Learnist, relatively new. PBS's Idea Channel, lots of tailor-made as YouTube channel starts to become a real foundation for classroom portable education units. Similarly, many of the publications that you guys are familiar with curate from the vast well of TED Talks with classroom tailor-made pieces. And who knows, Bolt's a new player. A lot of people are talking about it, but jury, I don't think the verdict's in. Do you have a strong opinion about it? Please share it with us. And note that folks like Get Ideas are actually taking a look at that. The point is, please stretch it. Look at things, go further. And even the usual suspects. The tools we think we know so well, turn them upside down. I was recently at a hackathon. Look it up if you don't know. And at this hackathon, we were really challenged because all the technologists, all the marketers, all of the academics that were there, we were to take and to try to find a way to make a motivational deliverable, as it were, to one of the most snooze-fest things we could think of. It's also life and death. It's the U.S. Farm Bill, and it affects every one of our tummies. So the team that I work with, much to my delight, we won in this room full of brilliant people. But my point to you, what high-tech technology did we use to deploy? PowerPoint. Turning things inside out and making sure that you're surprising yourself is a great way to make sure you're surprising your students. Push the limits, even what we think we know. We're hunter-gatherers. Let your curiosity lead you to unexpected places. Get lost regularly and methodically. If you don't get lost regularly, make sure that you do. If you do, take good journals, take good notes. Curate, for the rest of us, some of the treasures that you find. Because the distillation of this vast avalanche of information is very, very important. And if you don't get lost often, think of it as a muscular discipline. Do it 10 minutes a week. To just sit down and let your mind wander. That resource leads to this author leads to this link, and then log it. Now, 135 million people are gamifying. They're gaming. And I spent my whole childhood terrified of tests. idea that millions of people can't wait to challenge themselves, that can't wait to be on seeing if they're going to make the grade or not. It seems to me that this alone is one of the most extraordinary and exciting elements of transformation that you guys are all making happen. Now, there's the contests as well. Another extension of that, finding ways to push. We've never had more of them. And maybe it's a corporation trying to edu-wash or greenwash or whitewash or whatever they're washing. But there's always good people in organizations trying to get good ideas out the door. And of course, to just point a moment ago, many parents are involved in these boardrooms trying to get good things out the door. I urge you, share even more of them. There's so many out there. Push their limits. Make getting lost part of your practice. Turn things inside out, turn things upside down. Life is messy. That's what makes us come up with great creative ideas. My idea, of course, is that you will hopefully find ways to help your students lose their way. And we know they will not invent the wheel, but we don't know what they will find. Now, will the hippo rollers deploy water that's needed for the 894 million people that badly need drinking water? No. But is it a huge difference happening? Absolutely. And even if the idea is small, in 1963, two merging companies, insurance companies, disgruntled employees, poor artist is hired, gets paid $45, and what does he invent? Something most of you use every day in your work, the smiley face. These are the links. I've made a list of the links of the many things that I've just shown you. But thank you so much for your time. Bye.